Good evening. Call this regular meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order Thursday, March 1st, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Marshall, call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Here.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Malad? Here. Ms. Reister?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda with an addendum, which you should all have, which is an addendum to item 9 in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad. Any comments, questions? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Move on to item 5, the superintendent's report. Mr. North.
Yes, have new 4 items for you. The first one is congratulations to the Fairborn Board of Education. For the second year in a row, you will be receiving the gold level award for effective boardmanship. This award is handed out at the Southwest Conference here in less than 2 weeks. And there's very few boards of education out of the 613 public school districts that reach this level. Once again, congratulations to the Fairborn Board, because you've accomplished this level of excellence and the gold level for 2 years in a row. So I wanted to make sure that people realize that and know that, and that award will be on our wall there at the central office, right beside the one that you won last year.
Thank you.
Get busy, because we won 3 of them.
That's right.
No pressure.
Thank you, and to everybody in central office that takes the time to fill that out.
Good support.
Yes, thank you.
And support us,
Thank
so
you.
thank you.
Second thing I'm very proud of this evening, Ms. Gayhart has put a lot of work in gathering up all the information that is required to make sure that our buildings are meeting the requirements to receive this Nick's very distinguished award. And I'm going to ask Ms. Gayhart to approach and share a little bit about some information about the Purple Star Award that our buildings have received, and what we believe is going to happen in the very near future, and a little bit more information about what this Purple Star Award is all about. So Ms. Gayhart, will you come up front, please? And do you have anything with you?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So the Purple Star Award is for military-friendly schools, and it recognizes schools that show a major commitment to students and families connected to our nation's military. So schools that earn the award receive a special Purple Star recognition to display on site. And the school has to have a military liaison and must provide professional development and support for military students and families, as well as hosting a military recognition event that demonstrates a military-friendly culture. The local school board also has to pass a resolution publicizing the school's support for military children and families. So tonight we're honoring Fairborn Intermediate School and Fairborn High School for their commitment to working with our military students and families. And I want to say that we will be applying for, they're winning in the second round, and then we're going to be applying for Baker Middle School and Fairborn Primary School for the next round. But we're really proud, and because we're so close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and because we have a strong connection with the military, this is a great big deal, and so we want to honor the high school and the intermediate school. And so if Amy wants to come up, I'll give her the award for the high school, and then the other award will go to the intermediate school. So if you'd like to look at it as well. So that's the
Nicole, could you pass the other one down? So the board
We
members
pass the
can
other
see?
one down. So this is really an honor, and so we'll work hard to get the other two schools recognized. They're doing lots of good things as well, but Amy can display this for the high school and be proud of everything they're doing for our military kids and families, so. yeah.
Great, congratulations.
Any questions, comments from the board before we move on to the next? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for,
Thank you.
I know, having been, actually, I do have a comment. Having been at that original Purple Star Award, the talking about what it was going to be last year, and then reading through everything that it takes to actually earn that designation, that was a big deal, to put all that together and submit all that stuff for recognition for multiple schools. So, good job, that's awesome.
Thank you.
The next, I want to just take a moment and talk about school safety. I know that's been a topic that people have been talking a lot about lately across the nation. And I just wanted to reassure the board where we're at. This school district, like all other school districts in the state of Ohio, we have a safety plan that's in place. This safety plan was developed in conjunction and by following the lead of our local police department. And our local police department, many of their officers have been trained in several different aspects of school safety. And they also have a plan in place that coordinates the two together. I can share with you my experiences the last 31 years. I can very frankly say that I have not worked with, I've worked with some very good police departments, but I've not worked with a police department that has as impressive safety plan, not only that is so detailed as our Fairborn Police Department has, but one that also is so well coordinated with the school and provides us with tremendous leadership from the police department. And on top of that, and I probably should not share this, but I'm going to anyway, I'll share, I can put a phone call into my wife, and I probably am not going to get a call back. I can put a phone call into my two daughters, and I'm probably not going to get a call back. I put a call into Chief Barlow, and it's never, and I've probably talked to him at least a half dozen times this week, a couple times on some critical issues, and it never hits a second ring, and he's picking up the phone and saying, what can we do, Mark? What do you need? And so we just got great support, not only from the chief of police, but the entire department. And also, we have two tremendous SRO officers. And I don't know if people in this district realize this, but there's school districts out there that do not have any. They have no SRO officers. And there's school districts that may have one. But we have two. We have four buildings, five counting the Wright campus, but and we have one that's stationed at the high school most of the time, and middle school. Sometimes they make visits to the primary for activities or the intermediate. And in talking with Chief Barlow, as he shared with me, they are only seconds away. And I don't know what school districts. I was talking to a gentleman earlier this week. He lives down in school district south of here, and I don't want to mention the name because he said, the police are several minutes away, and there's lots of school districts around us that are very close by that do not have the luxury that we have of not only having two SRO officers, but to have a police department that is literally patrolmen seconds away from our buildings. And so I just want to share with you, in perspective of where we're at and where other school districts are at. I think we can feel not only very proud, but very safe and also at ease or assured that we are going to have great response if needed. In addition to that, we have planning that has been going on in this district for many years, and the third component of that is we practice those plans, and they're active. And in fact, we've talked about it at the last administrative meeting, and we're going to be doubling up those procedures of practice, even doubling up more than what the state requires. Brings me to another point, the discussion I've had with with Amy and Brad at the high school and middle school. I don't know how far it will go here in Fairborn, and I hope it really does not get off the ground. And I'll tell you why, and there's going to be probably some mixed opinions about this, and maybe even, I don't know, people that may be a little agitated, but there's discussion from around the nation of encouraging children on specific dates to leave their buildings and go outside and gather in a large group. And I can understand paying recognition to those who have been harmed or killed, and we can address that and do that. And I also am as avid as anyone about promoting safety and awareness, and we also have talked about how we can do that. But we take our students out as an entire student body on 2 different occasions, and only 2. We do it to practice a fire drill because the building's on fire. And the best place to be when the building's on fire
It's out.
is outside the building. There's only one other time that we practice or would ever encourage or ever even dream of bringing our children outside as an entire student body. We're talking 1,000 students here at the high school, almost 1,000 at the middle school. And how they do such a wonderful job of herding cats when they practice that fire drill is amazing. It's amazing to watch, but the only other time we do that is when we practice our intruder drill, when we have an intruder in the building. So the only other time that we want students outside as an entire student body, other than when there's a fire in the building, is when there's an intruder, somebody presenting danger in the building. So why in the world, I pick this word carefully, would we be so asinine to want to encourage 1,000 children to go outside at a specific time on a specific date and communicate that to the general public when inside the building we know it's safe? We have no idea who is outside the building waiting for our student body to gather together on a specific day and a specific time. So again, I've talked to both our principals about how we can recognize those individuals that have been harmed or killed, and also to recognize and talk about the importance of safety and awareness. But we're going to look at doing that inside where it's safe. And we're going to really discourage and try to encourage our children to think about it from a more of a common sense, more of a realistic way of addressing an issue than a knee-jerk reaction of, hey, let's all gather outside on this date at this time and make ourselves available for whoever wants to drive by and do something that's harmful. So again, I just wanted to touch base, and the main thing I wanted to share with you is just the tremendous cooperation, not cooperation, leadership that we get from our police department. And people ask me, they say, well, Mark, why aren't you doing this program? Or why aren't you investing in this? Or why aren't you? Well, because we take our direction from the experts. Now, if Chief Barlow wants to know something about curriculum or school facilities or transportation, there's people here in this district that can talk to him about those things. But if we want to do what's best for our children and our staff, then we need to do the same thing and respect our experts, our police officers and our police department, who individuals have been at seminars and been at workshops and been through hundreds or even thousands of hours of training, and take their direction. And so I say to the board, where we will go, as far as my recommendation goes with school safety, is to make sure we stay on course and stay on the same page and follow the direction of our chief of police and our police department. There was something else I was going to share with you regarding our school. Oh, I will share with you, as we're building our new schools, we have some of the state-of-the-art technology that's being put in place to provide our police department as well as our fire department eyes on our buildings in all places, and they don't even have to drive onto school grounds, and they can tell us exactly what's going on because they're going to be able to see it from their cruisers. The chief of police has also shared with me that the police department now, all their officers are going to have an app that not only pulls up their entire safety plans on what to do and how to address various situations, but also the school safety plans. So even an officer that's off duty that may live a block away from the school can run out of his or her house, pull out their cell phone, and have all that information right in their hand. So again, I think that we're very blessed to have the location that we have and to have the close proximity and the expertise from our Fairborn Police Department, and just want to communicate that with the board. Any questions or any comments?
I have a comment. Just, soon after the tragedy happened in Florida, I was on the phone with Mark, and, Mark told me that we do have a drill once a year, to educate the people what we do in cases like this. And one of the first things out of his mouth was, we're going to double up on that. We're going to have 2 a year. And, I know it can be said that it can happen to anybody at any time. We can put bulletproof glass in the buildings and do everything we can, but it still could happen. And let me share this with you, I was going to the junior high one day, and I pulled up, just because I guess I was lazy, I pulled up in front of the east building, and I went up, and I noticed the east building was locked. Well, there was a button. I pushed the button. Nobody was in the office. And so I kind of knocked on the door there, and a student walked by. He saw me right outside the building, and that young man didn't come and open up that door. Could have cursed him, but and then I stood there, and he walked away, and here comes another young lady, and I knocked again, and no way, she was not going to open that door. She walked away, turned around, looked at me a couple times. But so, that tells me, folks, that we're being proactive. We're educating our people as to what to do, our students and staff what to do, in cases like this. So I'm very happy that Mark, jumped on this as quick as he did, and I appreciate your report.
You're lucky somebody didn't tackle you out there.
It could have been an easy thing to do.
Last thing I want to share with you is you probably heard in the news regarding the formation of a new league, and that we've been invited to be part of this new league, and I'm recommending that we join this new league. Give you a little bit of information about this. Is there are 20 school districts currently in the GWOC. I've not ever been a fan of such a big league, and I've been part of the GWOC as superintendent in 2 of the 4 different divisions or conferences. And one of the things that I personally have not cared about is that there's a very large difference in the schools and the communities and the cultures. And one of the things a couple of things that happened that has always bothered me, and it bothered me when I served as Superintendent Lebanon, it bothers me to serve superintendent here in Fairborn, is that because we're part of this league, ticket prices can be jacked up and set at whatever price, and the schools, because it's so large, there's a lot of schools that may not agree with it but can't do anything about it. And one of the things recently has been talked about is raising ticket prices again for basketball and football games, and I don't know, I just think that you shouldn't have to take out, a second loan to take your family to a high school football game or a basketball game. And on top of it, the league's also having serious discussion about, in addition to moving the ticket prices up for all schools that are in the league, that we also have to charge for parking. And I share, by the time that somebody pays for parking and pays for a family of 4, and you get in there and unless your kids are different in mind, they want a hot dog, they want a slice of pizza, they want a soda, you spend $50 or $60 at a football game every Friday night, or you spend, at a basketball game, if you're, a faithful or, regular, you drop that twice a week. And so the teams that have pulled from the GWalk are still teams that we play. In fact, all but one of the teams is in our exact conference. We play Stebbins currently, we play West Carrollton currently, we play Xenia currently. There's somebody else. But the other 6 schools, then there's us, and then the other 6 schools are schools that we play often, and they're the schools of the same size, same economic environment, and offer the same competitive level in all the sports. And those schools are Troy and Tip and Piqua and Butler and Sydney and Greenville. So as I've shared with the board previous, we can do one of 3 things. We could stay in the current GWalk with all the other big schools, but now there's discussion that there's even additional schools wanting to pull out of the GWalk, so that league might just fold. And or we could go off and go search for a league somewhere, which I never want to have to put our students through that, because we could be traveling from here to Timbuktu to play a ball game. Or we could join the schools that are the same size that we've been playing, same area, and have some more say in doing things like controlling reasonable prices for people to be able to come, or for families to be able to come to our events. So I recommend to the Board of Education that we move with the other 9 schools, and they've not determined a league name yet. If it really matters. But for lack of league name, I will recommend that we join the 9 schools, which means that we still will be playing the GWalk schedule for possibly 2 years, most certainly for 1 year, before we get to move into this new league and play the other schools I just mentioned. If there's any comments or questions regarding this information.
No, I think it's a good opportunity, and it's a new league, but it's an old league because it's half of the old league that's splitting off. So I think it's a good opportunity for our kids.
The thing I like probably the most is when you look at all these teams, with hard work, any team in any sport can win the league title or the league championship on any given year. And finding that balance, I don't care if it's high school ball or college ball or 3A or even Division I ball, I think that's what they look for, is how can you have competitive balance. And I don't know how we could have fell into a situation to have better competitive balance than we will with this new league. That is all I have.
Okay. We'll move on to item 6, recognition of visitors. If there's anyone that wishes to address the board, please step up to the microphone over there, state your name and address, and the microphone, it's over there, buddy. And limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we'll allow.
Can you help with the microphone, please?
Yeah, turn it. Yeah.
That good? You're welcome. My name is Ann Foster, and I'm here to leave some material with you, for one thing. But in regards to safety, one of the things we need to think about is our smaller age children. And NRA has a program called Eddie Eagle. Some of you may have heard of it. And I'm going to give each of you a folder that you can use to keep material as we gather more information. Now is a good time to start before school starts again in the fall, maybe. But maybe we can figure out, I need a lot more information from you, and you need a lot more from me, which I'm in the process of getting from NRA. So if it's all right, I'd like to pass out the folders, and you
certainly.
can just hang on to them, and as we get more, you can add.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
certainly.
you.
Good,
Great,
thank you.
Start down here with Mr. North,
So let me meet you.
since he's the superintendent.
Thank you.
Here's Mr. Wilson,
Thank you.
Katie,
Yep, thank you.
Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I didn't, are you a secretary or what?
I'm the treasurer of the board.
Yeah, she's my secretary.
He thinks I'm his secretary. I'm the treasurer.
You did not have your name on the, when I was going online.
That's fine.
Paycheck.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Ann.
Thank you.
You gave us a laugh with that one, Ann.
You can split Mark's paycheck amongst the rest of the board members.
They did something to think about for our children, if they can learn to stop when they see a gun, run, and go get an adult, we might preclude some things that we've seen happen lately as they get older.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I'm Commissioner Bennett. I live at 2006 Stony Brook Trail. I might just have a couple of questions. I'm new to the Fairborn, education systems, military. We travel around a lot. So my question is, of course, the safety thing that we have going on. It's very scary for, a lot of us. So my question would be, is there a way that we can implement the what are those things? The metal detectors, so that when you're walking through, you know that our kids are going to be safe on top of, and I love that the cops are in our schools. I love that. But is there a way that we can also address this to where it's not just in Dayton, but it could be here as well, so that we have that extra security for our kids as they're going into the school? And some of the kids aren't even coming into schools to harm everybody, like the kid that just went in there and shot himself because he was being bullied. Is there another way that we could look at as well when we're building the new buildings and when we're having the old buildings, that we can implement the metal detectors so that we have that extra security as well?
What I would like to do, if it's all right with you, because of the board meeting and the format that's set up.
Okay.
If you could leave your name and number with Ms. Gayhart there.
Yes, sir.
What I will do is I'll give you a call where we can sit down and personally have a conversation, and we can take time to have discussion, and
Okay.
and in that way, you're not rushed, and
Yeah, I
and like I said,
understand.
we can fully address all your questions.
Okay, I
So
appreciate
Perfect.
that.
if you can leave your name and phone number with Ms. Gayhart, I'll give you a call sometime tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Commissioner.
And received word that our city council liaison is delayed, so when, and she does want to update the board with some city issues. So when she makes her appearance, we'll take a little break and allow that
Okay.
to happen. So, is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Seeing no one, we'll close recognition of visitors. Move on to item 7, approve the minutes of the Thursday, February 1st regular meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any questions, comments, corrections? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Item 8, the treasurer's report.
This month, we're going to be going over the January month-end financials. As of the end of January, so we compare this time to the same time last year, so the end of January this year compared to the same time last year. We had $1.1 million higher in revenues than the same time last year. This is anticipated. Some of it's due to timing. We do have additional revenues from State Foundation, which I've been talking about. We had 57.68% of the total forecast amount received as of the end of January. We're running right in line with our forecast. I will be updating that for the May board meeting. May ask for a special board meeting at the end of May, depending on timing, with our board meeting being in the first part of the month. I'm not sure yet. Just depends on when our tax settlements and things come in. Our expenditures were $1.7 million higher. This is mostly due to the additional money and transfers that we had budgeted for, plus the timing of our expenditures. We had spent 57.44% of the total forecast amount. We had $22.8 million in cash in the general fund. We had $4.6 million in outstanding encumbrances for an $18.1 million unencumbered fund balance in our general fund, which is about $3.6 million higher than the same time the previous fiscal year. So we're still in pretty good shape. This is just a running cash balance for each month compared to the same time last year for the general fund. As of January 31st, we had $2.4 million in average monthly expenses for salaries and benefits, and we had $1.2 million in everything else, an average, for a total average about $3.6 million. We had 299 certified employees and 240 classified employees. This is the list of our investments, and these are operating investments. And this is a list of our investments for our bond construction account. There's not been much, we're not breaking ground until about May, so you'll start seeing some of this come due after the construction process gets started. This is the cash reconciliation. That's all I have. Are there any questions from the board members?
No, thank you.
No?
That's right.
I didn't see it. Someone after.
Okay.
I did not see it in there.
Moving on to,
I'm sorry, Andy. I think we've made a mistake. I thought I saw in the earlier draft, the resolution for us to pull out of the GWalk, and I can't find it here now. Did it-
I've not seen it.
Between drafts, did it,
Is there a resolution in the attachments?
that's what I can't find.
Is it on the agenda?
Well, that's what I. so
Can't find that either?
We may need to have a special board meeting.
I
Okay.
okay.
I
Okay.
don't recall
I don't remember seeing,
seeing
Yeah, I don't
anything,
either.
but, I mean,
either.
if the board can make a motion to authorize you to approve removing, I mean, we can do that without it being on the agenda. It just needs a motion, a second, and a majority vote. So that's,
Under
It
new
depends on the
business.
board whether
You
you,
want to do that now?
Yes,
Yeah, we're fine
Yeah,
to do
we're
that.
fine to do
we're
that.
fine with
I
that.
apologize, but
That's okay.
No,
As a point of order, then, I'll move that we, or I will make the motion that we all agree to leave the GWalk South and to accept the invitation as given to join the, I guess, no-name league as of yet, but the newly formed league with the 10 other schools involved, or 9 other schools involved, excuse me.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Thank you, Mr. Browning.
thank you, and I apologize.
That's okay. Call the roll, please.
yep. Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mrs. Malat,
yes.
Mr. Easter,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries.
I'll create a resolution and just sign it.
Okay. So we'll move to item 9, the consent agenda, which runs through page 4, and there will be the addendum afterwards on this. So this is the usual personnel, business, and student services, although I don't see any student services this time around, items. So may I have a motion, please?
Move.
Thank you, Ms. Reister.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any discussion or comments on these items? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries, and we'll move on to the consent agenda addendum item, one resignation to approve. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Stereo.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
Oh, give it to Reister. I'm good.
Any comments, questions on this? Call the roll, please.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. And we'll move to item 10, the treasurer's office, which is approve the January financial report, the amendment to the permanent appropriations. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any comments, questions?
I just want to mention, we have a few adjustments to the permanent appropriations. It's mostly grant stuff. There's a couple increases to budgets for student activities, and food service, but other than that, it's grant related, so.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item C, the January financial report of checks paid. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any discussion or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Abstain.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 9, gifts and donations. A little smaller list this time around. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Mr. McCourt, will you do the honors, please?
Absolutely. Gifts and donations out of the Fairborn Skyhawk Club, or Fairborn Athletic Club, excuse me. $100 for the Rex Ackerman Relays, and thank you to Tom Kirsch for the same amount for the Ackerman Relays.
Okay.
You want me to go ahead and do the Hall of Honor stuff down?
We should vote
we have to
before we
vote.
do.
Yeah, we have to vote on this. We have to
Okay.
vote on this
Gotcha,
one. so-
sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Okay, item 12. Now you may read the,
Okay. Hall of Honor, which is one of our highly regarded get-togethers that we have yearly, but a lot of great people donate for that program, and it's very well done. But the list of Beth Wilhelm Capelli, $50. Jane Clifton, $100. Miss Joyce Dennis, $50. Don O. DeVault, $25. Wendell Dobson, or is it Dobbins? $100. Coach Jim Saunders, $100. James and Jane Tram and family, $100. And Stephanie Webb, $100. And again, we thank them for their donations.
okay. Thank you, Mr. McCourt. And we'll move on to item 13 for new business for the board here. Several issues. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Comments, discussion on these items?
I just want to make sure the item B, sorry, the board got a late email with an additional, I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that, you got that?
Yes.
Or understand that it's
Yes.
included in this. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion on these items? No? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to board member good of the order and board member reports. Mr. Browning.
Okay. I saw Whitney here earlier. I just wanted to comment and thank her. I brought one of the copies of the Fairborn paper. You know, the coverage that we've been getting in the Fairborn paper on a lot of topics, this happens to be February 6th on the music department, has been really good, positive coverage. And I want to thank the Fairborn paper for paying attention to what we're doing and getting it out so everybody understands that. So there's some good things going on in the district. Winter Guard, the Winter Guard has been doing a great job this year. Just watched them perform past weekend at the Nutter Center, and I was really impressed. And they're getting some really good scores, what's going on. Also, the indoor drum line performed at the Nutter Center this past weekend, and they got second in their division. We also had the distinction of having 20-plus middle school students in the OMEA District 12 Honors Band, which is probably one of the highest numbers we've ever had. Went over and watched them, the 7th and 8th grade honors bands, play Sunday, and they were both conducted by pretty good directors. The 7th grade was actually a graduate of Fairborn High School in 2001, who's at Carmel High School now and kind of renowned as a director over there, and he came back locally and directed and was very impressed with the students he saw. The 8th grade was the director from Bowling Green State University, who came and worked with these kids both Saturday and Sunday, and he was also very pleased with what he saw. So it's a neat program, and it's good for us to have that many kids involved. The musical, I'm sure we're all going to talk about the musical, so I'm not going to take everybody's thunder, but it was outstanding. And, you know, not only the set, what you know, John and Karen Garetta do, along with A.B. Whitehill and Aaron Campbell, but Barb Scusa, all the set work she did, and Leanne Arrett with the costumes. I didn't realize that those changing costumes were actually made. I thought they were rented, and she actually made those costumes with help from other people, but it was amazing. And the last thing was Pat and I went to the middle school winter sports banquet last night, and it was, or 2 nights ago, and it was neat seeing all the middle school athletes and the coaches and those kind of things and the enthusiasm that are in our athletic programs at that level. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Reister.
So I was pretty lame this month. I went to Cinderella, and I cannot sing the praises high enough on how fantastic everyone did, start to finish. It was awesome. Like, I can't say enough good things from Leanne Arrett and all the costumes, and Barb Scusa with the set, and obviously, if you've not heard me before, I'll say it again. I sing the praises of the Garettas, and I think that they've done amazing things with our program.
Mr. McCourt.
Oh, well, winter sports winding down. You know, our basketball teams had a decent year. I know they would have liked to have won more, but I was able to attend a lot of the freshman reserve varsity games, but did see a couple of the 7th and 8th grade games as well, both boys and girls. And our athletes are coming along. They're coming along. I think the coaches are doing a good job trying to get these kids in their head that that's hard work. It's hard work to be a student athlete. And I know they're working hard. They'll probably be working hard in the off season, but it was a nice winter season for us. As Jerry had mentioned, we were at Baker Junior High a couple nights ago. I would just like to say to our cheerleaders, who I know don't get a lot of recognition maybe, but, what's a ball game without cheerleaders? And our competition cheer, these girls just keep doing great things and recognizing, their efforts is something I think is very important to us. And I think they, a lot of times, put Fairborn on the map. So I do appreciate their efforts. Board agenda, I just want to, and I've said this once before, but I hope everybody realizes that when we come here, we've got these notebooks here that has our agenda in it, but Tammy Bird in the central office, she gets the board agenda out to us usually a week or so in advance. So we have plenty of time to go through our agendas, see what we're voting on, what we're talking about, discussions and everything. So I just don't want people to think that we come in here and start doing a lot of check marks and yays and nays, but I think the entire board is well-versed as to what's going on, and to the benefit of Nicole and to Mark, they keep us well-informed as to what's going on in the district. Cinderella, again, I just can't say any more about it, but they do a nice job. And also, I'd like to thank our SRO officers, and please know that we take this safety thing very, very seriously, very seriously. And I agree with Mark, we do have a great police force in this town, and they come when they're called, and they get there as quick as they can. So thanks to them as well. That's all I have.
Mrs. Milad.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the grade book updates that we've been getting as parents, that it's much appreciated. I love being able to check almost daily. Alicia's grades are updated, so her teachers are doing a fabulous job. So just a big shout out to them, but I think across the district, that's probably making a huge difference in how parents are able to view what their kids are up to and what's needed and required, and so I'm very pleased with that. A big congratulations to the honor band kids. I have to tell you, it was really funny watching my daughter chase down Erin Campbell so she could find out when she had to go to Beaver Creek to see them. Because it was a big deal to her. I don't even know why she's not in band, but she really wanted to make sure she was in Beaver Creek at 2 o'clock. But all reports, she took her father along and they had a great time, and they said they did a really neat job, so that was pretty cool. And the musical, most theater departments are, you've got 16 kids and they play the same parts year after year after year, and it's all the same thing, and you're like, okay, yeah, you do a really good job of that. I can't get over it. Our kids, we have kids come out of the woodwork every year, and they're amazing. And it's, they've never done theater, never done choir before, and all right, we're good at theater.
That's right.
So, pretty neat job with the Cinderella. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. I would like to call your attention to the fact that the next month's board meeting is April 12th, which is the second Thursday. We made that change so that everybody can enjoy their spring break.
Yay!
Nicole and I had a meeting with Representative Perales to discuss property tax issues, which is, I think, a somewhat fruitful meeting. At least, it seemed to go pretty well. So, and I read a little interesting tidbit, so you might want to get this word out to the high school students. In the primary election that's coming up in May, 17-year-olds can vote for the contested offices like state representative and so forth, if they are going to be 18 years old by the general election. They have to vote on a paper ballot, but they are eligible to vote for the people, not the issues. They can't vote for levies or things like that, but they are able to vote for anybody that may be running for a contested office on the ballot. So it was an interesting little tidbit, I thought. attended a couple of events at Wright State University that were, one was the Air Force base night at Wright State, and the other was the chamber night. So got to see Wright State play some good basketball games. Also coming up in committee right now is House Bill 512, which is a bill to essentially do away with all of the elected positions of the State Board of Education and replace that and the higher education group with some other committee that is selected by and reports to the governor. So they're trying to pull some shenanigans to usurp our and disenfranchise us from voting for people who may be in charge of our schools, so on a statewide basis. So that's something that's worth watching and worth reaching out and contacting folks. And yes, Cinderella was absolutely phenomenal. And I'd also like to put in a plug for those students who are not necessarily out on the stage, but are back behind the scenes, helping things run smoothly, because they're a vital part of any of those performances as well. So, and you know, this is the kind of thing that our public schools can do so well. That other educational opportunities may not have the ability to put on and have 100 children participate in a program like that, and you know, for an hour. So it's a unique opportunity. And City Council representative is not here. There is one thing I know of that that I can discuss a little bit. The water towers that are at the primary, next to the primary building, they were scheduled for being repainted in a couple of years. The city has moved up that schedule, and they will repaint them this summer so that we won't have overspray coming out onto our brand-new buildings.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm glad that the school district doesn't have water towers, because it costs $600,000 to repaint a water tower.
Holy smokes.
And there is some talk about they may put a skyhawk on one of the water towers for us, so.
I'd rather see that than the Sprint thing.
We'll tell him you said that, Ann. Yes.
You don't have to, she's recorded.
That's awesome.
We'll play it back.
So, that's it for me. Again, next month's meeting is April 12th, the second Thursday, same, 6 PM right here.
Point of order, please.
Sure.
I forgot in my comments, just want to thank Mark North and our athletic director, Kevin Alexander. Mark and I, last week, I think it was, we went down to the Dayton Mall and watched our bowlers bowl in the, I think it was the districts at that time. And they did fairly well. They were able to, a few of them were able to move on to the sectionals, which I was at this morning, actually all day, over in Beaver Creek this time. And Kevin Alexander was over there, as well as Amy Gayhart, watching our student athletes over there. Bowlers, I made a comment this morning, I never was in a bowling alley at 9 o'clock in the morning. But they get up early and they bowl early, and we have a strong bowling team, and I think the community should be very proud of them. I'm going to continue to follow them and watch them and you know, attend some of their matches, but they do a very good job. And finally, I hope you reprimand the city official that wasn't here tonight, that maybe she could get here on time next week. That's all I have.
Okay. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Motion carries. We are adjourned.